Hey Stoics, welcome back to Anonymous Achiever. People often think silence is just the absence of words. But in reality, it's one of the most powerful messages you can send. When you go no contact, you're not just removing yourself from their life. You're taking away the comfort of knowing you're still there, still accessible, still within reach. You strip them of their safety net, their validation, and their ability to manipulate your emotions. And that shakes them to their core. They might have walked away thinking you'd always be an option, that no matter how they treated you, you'd still be waiting, still holding on, still hoping. But now the silence is deafening, and it's making them question everything. Why haven't you reached out? Why aren't you breaking like they expected? Why does it suddenly feel like they've lost something they didn't even fully appreciate when they had it? The truth is, silence is unsettling. It creates a void, a space where their ego was once fed, where their confidence in your availability was unquestioned. And now that you're no longer there, they're left alone with a terrifying realization. They have no control over you anymore. They can't predict your next move. They don't know if you still care, if you've moved on, or if you've erased them from your life entirely. That uncertainty, that loss of control, it's driving them insane. People tend to want what they can't have, and when something familiar is suddenly taken away, the desire to get it back intensifies. Even if they thought they didn't need you, even if they believed they could live without you, your absence now forces them to confront the truth. They were comfortable knowing you were always an option, but now that comfort is gone. And what replaces it? Anxiety, doubt, regret. No contact isn't just about ignoring them, it's about forcing them to sit with the consequences of their choices. They thought they had power over the situation, but your silence proves otherwise. They thought you would always be the one to reach out first, to mend the broken pieces, to make things easier for them. But when you do nothing, when you resist the urge to chase, you create an imbalance they never saw coming. And that imbalance is what drives them crazy. This is how you reclaim your power. Not with words, not with arguments, not with desperate attempts to prove your worth, but with silence, with detachment, with the undeniable truth that you're no longer playing their game. And the best part? The more they try to act like they don't care, the more your absence consumes them. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of why no contact is messing with their mind, why it's making them obsess over you, and how you can use it to not only regain your power, but to come out of this situation stronger than ever. Before we dive in, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my power, and they feel it. Let's dive in. Number 1, the unfinished story keeps haunting them. Closure is a luxury many people take for granted until they don't get it. When a relationship ends, most people expect some sort of finality. A last conversation, a final argument, or at least a sense of control over how things conclude. But no contact? No contact denies them that privilege. It leaves them hanging, stuck in a story that feels incomplete. It's an open book with the last chapter missing, and that's psychological torture. The human mind craves resolution. We're wired to seek closure because it gives us a sense of control, a way to process emotions and move forward. But when you go silent, you take that control away. They don't get to hear your side of the story. They don't get a chance to justify their actions. They don't even know if you're still thinking about them. And that uncertainty, it eats away at them. At first, they might act like they don't care. They might convince themselves they've moved on, that your silence doesn't affect them. But over time, the lack of closure starts gnawing at their mind. They start replaying old memories, analyzing past conversations, trying to figure out where things went wrong. Every unanswered question, every moment of doubt, it all builds up inside them, creating an internal chaos they can't escape. They begin to wonder, Did I make a mistake? Did I misjudge them? Are they happier without me? And worst of all, have they completely forgotten me? That last question is the one that truly drives them crazy. Because if you're not reaching out, if you're not trying to fix things, then maybe, just maybe, you've moved on. And that is something their ego cannot handle. People can handle anger, begging, tears, even hatred. But indifference is the one thing they don't know how to process. Your silence tells them that their role in your life is over, that they're no longer important, that they no longer have any control over your emotions. And when someone who once had power over you suddenly feels powerless, it shakes them to their core. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And right now, their thoughts are painting a picture of regret and uncertainty. They'll start second-guessing everything they thought they knew about you. They'll wonder if they ever really understood you at all. And the worst part? They'll never get the answers they seek. No contact ensures that they're the ones left waiting, the ones questioning, the ones haunted by the unfinished story. And you walk away with your peace, your dignity, and your power intact. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am the chapter they will never finish. Number 2, their ego can't accept that you're doing just fine. Most people walk away from relationships with a sense of superiority. Even if they're the ones who ended things, they still expect you to suffer in their absence. They assume you'll be heartbroken, that you'll struggle to move on, that you'll miss them so much you can't function. And why? Because that's how they validate their importance in your life. But no contact? No contact destroys that illusion. It flips the entire script. Instead of you chasing them, instead of you proving how much they meant to you, you do something unexpected. You move on. You heal. You shift your focus back to yourself. And that wounds their ego more than any words ever could. At first, they might not notice. They might assume you're just playing a game, trying to make them miss you. But then time passes. You remain silent. You don't check up on them. You don't stalk their social media. You don't fall apart like they expected. And suddenly, the person who once thought they had all the power begins to panic. So what do? They start looking for cracks in your silence. They start watching your social media, trying to find proof that you're still hurting. Maybe you posted something sad. Maybe a song lyric that sounds like it's about them. Maybe a vague status that they can twist into meaning you're struggling without them. But when they find nothing, when they see that you're not only surviving but thriving, that's when their real suffering begins. Your silence is no longer just an absence. It's a message that says, I don't need you, I don't miss you, I've outgrown you. And nothing is more unbearable to someone with a fragile ego than realizing they no longer have control over how you feel. They'll try to justify it in their mind. Maybe they're just pretending. Maybe they're faking it. There's no way they've actually moved on this fast. But deep down, they know the truth. You're doing just fine without them. And that realization stings more than any breakup ever could. Because if you were able to move forward so easily, then maybe, just maybe, they were never as important as they thought they were. Maybe they were the ones who lost something valuable. Maybe they made the biggest mistake of their life. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. And your greatest power? You don't want them anymore. You don't need closure. You don't need their validation. You don't even need to prove anything to them. And that's exactly why they're the ones suffering now, not you." Drop this affirmation in the comments. I owe them nothing, not my attention, not my pain, not my time. Number 3, the void you left behind is too loud to ignore. The hardest lesson in life is learning the value of something after it's gone. When they had you, they took your presence for granted. They assumed you would always be there, always caring, always checking in, always putting in effort, no matter how little they gave in return. They didn't have to question your loyalty because you proved it every single day. But now they're realizing just how much space you filled in their life. The simple good morning texts, the late night conversations, the way you always understood them even when they didn't understand themselves, those things weren't small. They were the foundation of the comfort they felt in their life. And now that foundation is gone. At first, they might have felt relief. They might have convinced themselves that walking away was the right choice, that they would be better off without you. Maybe they even thought that you'd come running back, making it easy for them to regain control whenever they wanted. But then came the silence. And that silence is now screaming at them, reminding them of what they lost. The ego doesn't like to admit when it's made a mistake, so they'll try to distract themselves. They'll throw themselves into new relationships, meaningless conversations, nights out, anything to fill the gap you left behind. But no matter how much noise they create around them, the emptiness remains. Because it was you who made them feel seen, understood, and valued in a way no one else did. And now, they no longer have that security. Loneliness isn't just about being alone. It's about feeling unseen, unimportant, and disconnected. And that's exactly what your absence has given them. A mirror reflecting the fact that they depended on you more than they ever admitted. You were their emotional home, and now that home is gone. They're left wandering, searching for something or someone to replace what you provided so effortlessly. But deep down, they know. They know no one else will ever care quite like you did. This is the weight of loss. Not just losing a person, but losing the peace and security that came with them. They're now forced to sit with their own emptiness, their own lack of emotional depth, their own inability to create the same warmth you once gave them so freely. And that realization? That is something they can't escape. You don't have to say a word. Your silence, your absence, it speaks volumes. It reminds them of what they took for granted, what they let slip away, and what they'll never have again. Number 4, the more they try to move on, the more they think about you. Here's the paradox of the human mind. What we resist persists. The more they try to move on from you, the more their mind pulls them back. At first, they might have convinced themselves that walking away was the right choice. Maybe they told themselves they wouldn't miss you, that you were replaceable, that they could easily fill the space you once occupied. But the truth is far more complicated. Because now, every time they try to distract themselves, every time they go on a date, scroll through social media, or surround themselves with friends, your presence lingers in the back of their mind. They might not even realize it at first, but the comparisons begin. They catch themselves measuring everyone they meet against the way you made them feel. They try to convince themselves they've moved on, yet their subconscious keeps betraying them. New conversations don't hit the same. New people don't bring them the same comfort. They laugh, they pretend, they act like everything is fine. But when the distractions fade and they're left alone with their thoughts, one question keeps creeping in. Why can't I stop thinking about them? This is the power of no contact. It's not just about cutting someone off. It's about letting their own mind do the work for you. Because when you go silent, you plant a thought they can't escape. Your absence forces them to acknowledge what they lost. And the more they try to push you away, the deeper that realization sinks in. They'll try to fill the void with someone else, thinking that a new relationship will erase your memory. But instead of moving forward, they find themselves comparing. Maybe it's the way you listened to them, truly listened without judgment. Maybe it's the inside jokes, the effortless conversations, the emotional connection they took for granted. And with each comparison, the reality sets in. No one else can replace what they had with you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And right now, their thoughts are consumed by you. Not because you're reaching out, not because you're chasing them, but because you've given them nothing to hold on to. And the mind hates unfinished business. They might try to act indifferent. They might post pictures to make it seem like they've moved on. But those actions are fueled by a need to prove something. To themselves, to others, maybe even to you. Because deep down, they know. The more they try to run from the past, the more they realize it's still haunting them. You are unforgettable. Not because you forced them to remember, but because you walked away with dignity, leaving them to wrestle with their own regrets. And that is a battle they can't win. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am unforgettable, and they feel it. Number 5. They start overanalyzing your every move. When you were in their life, they had certainty. They knew how you felt. They knew you cared. And they probably even took your predictability for granted. If they reached out, you would respond. If they pulled away, you would try to fix things. They thought they had you figured out. But now you are a complete mystery. And for someone who once felt in control, that is an unbearable feeling. The moment you go silent, their mind starts working against them. Every unanswered question becomes an obsession. They start overanalyzing every little detail, even the things they never paid attention to before. Why haven't you texted? Are you with someone else? Have you truly moved on? Did you ever love them at all? They start digging for answers in places they never looked before. Watching your social media, analyzing your old messages, even asking mutual friends about you. Anything to get a sense of what's going on in your head. The worst part? The more they search for answers, the less they find, and that drives them insane. Because when there's no closure, when there's no reaction, the mind starts filling in the blanks with its own fears. They start thinking, what if they're happier without me? What if they've already replaced me? And suddenly, they're trapped in their own overthinking, consumed by a cycle of self-doubt and regret. This is where no contact becomes so powerful, because it's not just about what you say, it's about what you don't say. The lack of communication speaks louder than any words ever could. It forces them to sit with their own thoughts, their own insecurities, their own guilt. And that's a storm they never saw coming. Maybe they start posting things online to get your attention. Cryptic quotes, stories that hint at missing you, even pretending to be unbothered. But none of it is for themselves. It's all for you. They want a reaction. They want to know if you still care. Because when someone is left in the dark, they crave even the smallest sign that they still matter. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And right now, their imagination is running wild. They're suffering, not because of anything you did, but because their own mind won't let them rest. They're creating scenarios, replaying the past, and desperately trying to figure out where they lost control. And the more they analyze, the more lost they feel. But here's the truth. Their overthinking is not your problem. Their regret, the confusion, the endless search for answers, that's their battle to fight. Your silence is not cruelty. It's a boundary. It's a statement that says, I am no longer part of this game. And that realization, that's what's truly breaking them. Number 6. Their pride stops them from reaching out, but it's killing them inside. The only thing standing between them and sending you a message, their pride. It's not that they don't want to talk to you. It's not that they don't miss you. It's that reaching out would mean admitting something they're not ready to face. That they were wrong. That they miscalculated. That they lost something they thought would always be there. Pride is a dangerous thing. It convinces people to wear masks, to suppress their real emotions, to pretend they're unaffected. Even when every part of them is screaming otherwise, they tell themselves they don't care, that they don't need to check on you, that they can live without you. But deep down, they're waiting for a sign, waiting for you to break first, to give them an excuse to come back without swallowing their ego. But here's the problem. They underestimated you. They thought you would crack, that you would reach out eventually. They thought time was on their side. But the longer the silence stretches, the heavier it weighs on them. Every day that passes without a text from you feels like another confirmation that they misjudged everything. And that realization? That's where the suffering begins. They replay old conversations, scrolling through messages they never thought twice about before. They hover over your name, debating whether to type something, anything, just to get a reaction. But then their pride pulls them back. What if they don't respond? What if they reject me? And that fear, that hesitation, keeps them locked in a cycle of torment. They might even try to convince themselves that ignoring you is the right choice, that not reaching out makes them the one with power. But deep down, they know the truth. Pride is not strength. It's a prison. It's keeping them trapped in their own misery while you're out there moving forward, unbothered. And that's what's killing them inside. The fact that they want to talk to you, but can't bring themselves to do it. Because if they do, they have to face the truth. They have to admit that their assumptions about you were wrong, that they never really had as much control over you as they thought. This is why no contact is so powerful. It forces them to deal with their own ego, to battle with their own demons, to sit in the discomfort of knowing they could fix this, but only if they let go of their pride. The irony? The longer they hold on to it, the worse they feel, because the more time that passes, the more unreachable you become. The person they thought they could come back to is no longer waiting. And by the time they finally swallow their pride, they might realize it's already too late. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Their pride is their problem, not mine. Number 7. The final blow. You've outgrown them. And here's the ultimate reason why no contact is driving them crazy. You are no longer the same person they left behind. They expected you to stay stuck in the past, frozen in time, waiting for them to come back. But instead, you evolved. You took the pain, the silence, the heartbreak, and turned it into strength. You used the space they left to grow, to rebuild, to become something greater than you ever were with them. That's the real heartbreak. Not just losing you, but realizing they can never again have access to the version of you they once knew. The person who tolerated their mixed signals, their empty words, their inconsistency, that person no longer exists. And when they finally open their eyes to see the new you, it hits them like a tidal wave. They didn't just lose you, they lost the privilege of knowing who you've become. They look back and realize they were comfortable with the old version of you because it benefited them. Maybe you were too patient, too forgiving, too willing to put their needs above your own. But now, you've rewritten your story. You've taken control of your happiness, your energy, your future. And nothing is more unsettling to them than seeing you thrive without them. This is the moment they truly understand what they've lost. Not just a person, but an opportunity. An opportunity to grow with you, to be part of your journey, to experience the best version of you. And that is a regret they will carry with them forever. At first, they might try to convince themselves that they can get you back, that they can say the right things, make the right promises, and you'll come running like before. But then they see it, the shift in your energy, the way you no longer react, the way your silence speaks louder than any words ever could. And they know this isn't just no contact. This is transformation. This is the final door closing. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And right now, your thoughts are no longer about them. They no longer occupy the space in your mind that they once did. You are focused on your own growth, your own healing, your own success. And they are left in the past, looking at someone they barely recognize, realizing too late that they never truly saw your worth. If there's one thing you take from this, let it be this: your silence is your power. They expected you to crumble, but instead they are the ones left questioning, regretting, and suffering in silence. No contact isn't about making them chase. It's about making yourself free. And remember, you don't need their validation. You don't need their closure. You are your own source of strength. Stay focused, stay unshakable. What are your views on this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I will personally read all of your comments. And if you seriously want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. Stay strong. Until next time.